We're Charlie and LeeAnne, a couple from California who left our cushy suburban life to spend the next several years cruising around the Pacific Ocean on our boat, Juliet. And our little dog, too. After waiting over a year to wave goodbye to the Baja Peninsula and finally make our way across the Sea of Cortez, after a rocky 3-day passage and a dramatic arrival, we're here. We're on the mainland. Mazatlan is a sunny and popular resort town in the state of Sinaloa, with a very long, stunningly gorgeous malecon lined with beaches, also renowned for its big game fishing. Normally, it's a frequent port stop for large cruise ships, but with the cruise industry at a standstill due to the pandemic, that's not happening, which meant we had no throngs of tourists to hamper our exploration. So, along with Bubba and the crew of Boundless, we headed into the Centro Histórico, or the Old Town area, which is filled with 19th century buildings and historic landmarks. The city was dressed up for Carnivale, although we didn't stay long enough to see what kinds of activities were going on. But we enjoyed seeing all the decorations and the statues.
I think it's really nice actually. You know, I like to film when it's discreetly. It's very neat. Many people live in a park.
Julian had a little fun with this one. There's just so much to see here. And after the brown desert landscape of Baja, and then 3 days with nothing to see but the sea, it was a bit of a visual overload for me. The bright colors, the tropical heat, the flowers everywhere, it was a feast for the eyes. Mazatlan is also famous for its enormous marketplace, just a short walk from the center of Old Town. It's been open since 1900, and it's definitely one of Mazatlan's main attractions. It's chock full of vendors selling everything from clothing to hats to shoes, and of course, jewelry and souvenirs. It's also filled with groceries. The array of fresh veggies was eye-popping. And you know you're in a Mexican market when you see pig heads displayed like grinning goblins. Oh, and the fresh fish! We're a mostly meat-free boat, except for fish, and we love it. So this was a smorgasbord for us. One of the food items we've discovered down here in Mexico is smoked marlin. Holy God, that stuff is pure gold to us. In Baja, we could only find it by the can, but here on the mainland, you can buy these great big slabs of it, and it is delicious. And then there's the cheeses. Lots and lots of fresh cheese. And another new discovery, the nopales. These are prickly cactus leaves that are fabulous grilled, with a thick, meaty but tender texture and a very unique flavor. In the market, there were women scraping off the pricklies, and of course I had to buy some. That's one of the things I love about traveling, is trying the local delicacies. Once we left the market, we were on the hunt for something we all adore, fresh-made flour tortillas called harina tortillas. And we found some. There's nothing like soft, hot harina tortillas fresh off the griddle. Something else we discovered about Mazatlan is the preferred way for people to get around here, by these funky little open-air taxis known as pulmonias. They are usually made out of Volkswagen shells and started popping up in Mazatlan around 1965 as a way for the locals to compete with the traditional taxis for tourist dollars. They're pretty cheap actually, cheaper than Uber for sure. We rode around in a few ourselves, and Bubba loved it. After getting our fill of Old Town, it was time to head down to the water and see the famous Mazatlan malecon. But first, we had to walk down this super pretty street lined with colorful homes and brilliant flowers. Bubba started getting a little tired at this point, so we popped him in his carrier. He loves it there. What a great way to travel, huh? And then we emerged at the seaside and found a truly enchanting Malecon. Stunning beaches, gorgeous colorful hotels, and a very wide granite walkway, which made it easy to social distance from the few tourists who were there. It's also dotted with statues and art installations like any proper Mexican beach city. After a long day of sightseeing, it was time to head back to our floating homes, where we soaked in the brilliant tropical sun setting behind Stone Island. The next morning, we went the opposite direction from the city to see Cerro del Creston, which is the highest point and southernmost hill within the city of Mazatlan. The peak is geologically an island, but the government has built up a stretch of land through pavement and rock placement and now considers the peak part of the mainland. It rises about 520 feet above sea level, and atop its summit is the second highest marine lighthouse in the world, second only behind Gibraltar. It is a popular sightseeing and walking destination for both locals and tourists. There is a zigzagging trail leading up to the peak, which is famous for its 300-plus concrete stairs. And yes, we walked up every one of those stairs. A watchtower was first constructed on the summit in 1571, and the peak has been used as a navigational beacon site for seafarers for 200 years. It's also a fabulous place to see expansive views of the coastline from a glass-enclosed protruding walkway, and the city itself from a stone platform. Of course, Julian insisted that I shimmy my way out to the cliff's edge for the obligatory terror shot. If you've been watching our channel for a while, you know how much I hate heights. And then back to the city for a rooftop lunch at a highly recommended eatery in the heart of the Old Town. This is like
when LeeAnne does it.
not quite like that. This is like art. Oh my God! Look at that
Don't let
salmon.
anybody know that I'm eating.
Today we're making homemade pickles. We still have some pickles left from my last batch, which we've been noshing on. We're really into those Clausen refrigerated pickles, the ones that are really crisp, they've never been cooked. And so I found a recipe online to make them. You just have to find these, what they call here pepinos, which are basically pickling cucumbers. So they're kind of knobby and they're crisper and have less liquid in them and fewer seeds than regular cucumbers. You can't really pickle regular cucumbers because they're just too watery and they're going to become limp, but these stay very crisp. So you need these, and then you just need some good water, which we get from our Berkey. And then I've got these pickling spices, which I bought from Amazon. Pickling spices, and then dill seed. Use some of that, and then you use apple cider vinegar, kosher salt, pickling spices, and you put all that together, let it sit for a while, stir it until all the salt is well dissolved. And then you slice up some fresh garlic and you put it at the bottom of the container. You can see I have a bunch of garlic in the bottom of the container here. Since we still have some left in our pickling container, I'm going to put these pickles on to pickle in this container because it's got to sit out of the refrigerator for a couple days for it to really absorb all that vinegar and, you know, really get fermented, not fermented, but pickled. So I've already got my my garlic inside there, and I'm just gonna fill up the container with my pickles, pour in the pickling brine, and then I'll just let it sit on the counter for a couple days. And then by that time these will be gone, so then I'll put them in our nice refrigerator container and then chill them down for a day, and then we've got those crisp, delicious refrigerator pickles, which are like candy to us. I'm also going to try something new. Colin came up with this idea. Let's try pickling some other vegetables. I've not done that before. I've done this plenty of times, but it's the first time I'm trying this. So I just peeled and sliced up some carrots, some red pepper. I've got plenty of brine, and I think these might take a little longer to pickle because they're denser than cucumbers. But I'll throw it in there, let it sit for a couple of days, and see how it turns out. I'll let you know. After spending several days in Mazatlan, we moved our boats over to the much quieter anchorage at Stone Island. The anchorage near Old Town is great for easy access to the city, with a very convenient and well-guarded dinghy dock, but it's pretty busy and noisy there, with loud party boats going all the time. We moved over to Stone Island for a little bit of quiet, and to make our departure for our next destination easier. The channel out of Old Mazatlan can get crowded with ferries and charter boats. After enjoying the peace and solitude of Stone Island for a couple of days, it was time for us and Boundless to weigh anchor for our next destination. Well, we weighed anchor at about 10 a.m. and are on our way from Stone Island in Mazatlan to Ensenada Matanchen, which is going south along the Mexican mainland coast, heading in the direction of Puerto Vallarta. It's a beautiful day. We don't have a lot of wind. We got about 8 knots of wind, and we've got both the Genoa and the staysail up. So we're doing about 4.8 to 5 knots. We're making okay speed. Boundless put their spinnaker up. We haven't flown our spinnaker in a very long time, so we're kind of considering doing that, thinking about doing that. I don't know. Anyway, we saw a couple whales, and I've got my fishing line out. So far, it's a fantastic sailing day. Our next port, Ensenada de Matanchen, is 131 nautical miles from Mazatlan, which means another overnight sail. Come back next time to see how that passage went. Spoiler alert, not so well. So be sure to check back in a week or so for our next episode. If you're enjoying our videos and want to help support our channel, please consider becoming a patron. You can find us on Patreon at the address below, or click the link in the video description. And don't forget to subscribe. Also, we love it when we get comments, so please tell us what you think.